Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth episode of Leaders Insights for IsoNation. I'm Rachel Collison and I'm really happy to be joined by Tom Marien today. He is the founder of a social fitness company called wonderment. Hello Tom.
See you again.
It's really great to have you on this series because as when I spoke to Julie last week, you're in an industry that's had to move incredibly quickly once you've realised the impact of coronavirus and what that will mean for you and your business and your members. So really interested to chat to you and get your insight into that. If you could let me know what was that OMG moment for you when you realised, guys, we're going to have to make some big changes here to carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, just to give you a little bit of background on our business, we set up in 2007 and we were really focused on sports style fitness training. We wanted to come away from that gym model. We wanted to be outside. We wanted to be inclusive and create communication and communities within these groups. And the whole business has revolved around being outside, being in parks, putting people in situations that are lovely and that sometimes uncomfortable when it comes to training. And we've pulled all of our different training from sports grounds, so things like rugby and hockey and triathlon, swimming. We've pulled all these together and created a program for the parks that seems to work well. And then we also do adventures and so on. So everything is driven by this social interaction. And the kind of benefits of that are we've created huge communities where long-term friendships have been developed. I mean, lifelong friends. People go away on holiday together, which has nothing to do with wonderment. And we have couples that have met and married and children born. And so it's a really sort of positive thing, I think, for both an individual and a community level. But as I say, it all hinges on being outside, being with people. So 18th of March, we could see this coming. So for about a week before the 18th of March, we put in a load of things at training where we were limiting numbers. People weren't allowed within 2 meters of anyone else. People would put their drinks down in different places. There was no contact, no high fives, none of the usual stuff that we're used to. And I mean, we even got to the point where we wouldn't allow the members to pick up the cones at the end of the session. We just wanted to make sure we were ticking every box. But 18th of March, which I think was maybe 5 days before the actual lockdown, the council said, look, there's nothing, we're not going to allow any group training on the commons and parks, which in hindsight was probably the right decision. At the time for us, it was, oh God, this is really, as you say, an OMG moment. But interestingly, we have had this scenario from my Wandsworth franchise in the past. The council have told us we're not allowed to use that space. So we've had times where we've had to think on our feet, and we've tested the membership in the past when it's been very wet on the parks and we've had to move off. So, in some ways, I suppose we had a bit of an advantage. We knew that we can adapt. We know that, our overheads aren't huge. We've got park fees, we've got our trainer costs, and so therefore our membership fees aren't huge either. But yeah, so we felt confident we could do something, but then it was really a question of how can we do this? And a bit like Julie, you were talking to the other day, I listened to her interview, which was brilliant. She's much more developed on the franchise front than we are, but we've got 6 franchisees. And one of the things I drew out of her interview was around how everyone has an input into what the way forward, the route forward for the business. And we've got some incredible people as franchisees. We've got people who are from a marketing background, people who are very much from a fitness background. We've got one of the individuals is private equity accountant and from KPMG. So very quickly we could pull together a team that could work our way forward. I mean, the first 24 hours, we were just throwing everything at the wall. Like we were doing Instagram live sessions, doing YouTube, which was taking forever to upload. I created a gym in a barn to try and do some sessions in there, but I couldn't get the Wi-Fi to there, and so it was all just kind of chucking everything we could until we eventually came across Zoom. I suppose that would have been about 48 hours after we started. And unlike Julie, we don't really use Zoom, we just have phone calls. So yeah, and then once we had that, it was extraordinary. Like, our offering to our members is actually quite limited. It turns out we offer them membership 3 sessions a week. So that, you know, that proves to be enough for most people because it's quite high intensity training. But we don't offer any yoga or Pilates or mindfulness. But this has given us an opportunity to completely twist on our heels and offer all these things. And probably 48 hours in, that it dawned on us all that, you know, we can actually be more valuable to our members at this point than we could be previously. In the weeks leading up to this, we were just the membership group, and we were good fun social thing, lots of parties and that kind of stuff. But then suddenly, this is a time when I think was our opportunity to step up and show what we could do. So yeah, so we found yoga instructors, Pilates instructors, one of the very good yoga. She took that on. That's Kate, who you know well. And then we devised all the different training sessions. I think if you want to interrupt me, do. But I think one of the we basically had 3 pillars that we needed to maintain when we went into this. The first one being the membership is absolutely key to try to give them something back so we could maintain their membership to us. The second one was our trainers. So making sure that these guys are all self-employed, and it was really, I think they're probably the most hard-hit group of all the people who are self-employed and don't really know which way the landscape's moving. So for us, it was important that we could offer them some employment going forward. I said 3 things. I've hit 2 and hit a wall. So those were 2 things.
That's fine. It will come back to you, Tom, I'm sure. Thanks for that overview of the business and of how you've turned it around. It's really exciting to hear how people are actually, when they're forced to make changes, just do so like that. Whereas sometimes in a business, it could take weeks, days, months, involving lots of people from different parts of the business as well. But suddenly, what's interesting about how people are having to react in this world at the moment is you've got to react quickly. You've got to make those decisions quickly. There's no time for waiting around.
No, I think that's a really good point. In fact, from my perspective, you know, we're not a big business by any stretch of the imagination. We are nimble, we're small, but we haven't got a huge marketing budget. This scenario, whilst I completely understand it is not a leveler as far as the day-to-day person's concerned, because those at the poorer end of the spectrum are going to struggle a lot more than those at the top end. But from a business perspective, interestingly, it is a real leveler, because, you know, if you're a big business with lots of gym space or overheads, then suddenly, you know, you've got to create a platform. If you've got lots of franchises, you can't necessarily get them all working together because they've all got their own agendas and so forth. Whereas we're very small, and we could suddenly create something that I think actually has a lot more value than what we were doing before, and potentially what other businesses could do. I think it's interesting watching all these other fitness businesses and how loyal their members are. And I think you see this across F45 and CrossFit. They have really strong networks and communities, and those are the things that are going to get these guys through in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit a key word there: the communities and the loyalty that customers have to brands. And I've had the pleasure of knowing about One Element and working with One Element in the past and in the future, hopefully too. And one thing that stands out is your membership and their commitment to showing up at 6:30 in the morning for a weight session in a park on a freezing cold morning. So the fact that they are pulling together and supporting One Element at this time, you know, does not surprise me because of the efforts that you've put in from everybody involved over the last however many 10 years, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm a big. We've talked about this a lot before when we've been talking about marketing, but people join us because they want to get fit, but they stay with us because they want to make friends. And if people get through that 6-8 week period, and they've made fitness gains, and then suddenly they're part of a community, and they feel part of a community, they feel cohesed to that group, and that I think is going to be the thing that, well, I hope will help us as we move through this.
Yeah. And do bear with us. I know that Tom's video is a little bit shaky at times, but we can still hear you really clearly, Tom. So we'll, don't worry about that. Talking about your community of members, as you mentioned when you were talking about the essence of wonderment, it is really all about being outdoors, firstly, and secondly, that social element. So people coming together and working out together, making friends, high-fiving each other. I loved that at the beginning of you tried to carry on just with some differences to your program. So keeping, adhering to the social distancing, but still trying to be outdoors and in the park. And I love that in your sessions, you're trying to get people to do them outdoors. I think you run a garden session at least once a week to encourage people to still get outdoors, especially at this time when people are self-isolating.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. We've let's not sugarcoat it. We've been through one of the wettest weeks in memory, I think. It's been pouring with rain for the last 6 months, and then we get this, and people will normally desperately want to get outside at this space of time, and yet now we're coming into this, we're all locked down. So I think if you can get outside, the health benefits of exercise, of being able to, of seeing people, but also most importantly, the exercise, being outside, the benefits of nature, the benefits of sunlight on your skin, the benefits of fresh air are enormous.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Rachel?
I am. And we can hear you, even if we sometimes lose you a little bit. So just bear with us, everybody. Absolutely. I think what's been really a positive thing for me during this period is the fact that the government have stressed that we're allowed to go outside to exercise. So even if you don't have a garden you can go in, you can take that time and to go outdoors. And as long as that has been safe, they're prioritizing that. So they're prioritizing two of your key business passions and what you stand for, which is get outside and exercise.
Exactly. Get outside, exercise, fresh air. I think that we know the benefits of exercise. We know them. I mean, you'd have to live under a rock these days to not to know the basic benefits of exercise around weight loss and increased energy and so forth. But there's some really interesting stuff around exercise and the brain, and how exercise releases this chemical called brain-derived neurotrophic factor that actually, and we originally thought was only small children got this chemical and grew their brain, or children up to about 16, 17, and then it stopped. But actually when you exercise, you produce this stuff, and it creates new neurons, it creates new connections between neurons, improves creativity, it improves learning, it improves memory. I mean, this is just one of a plethora of benefits to exercising. Yeah, and the benefits that they give you. I mean, the benefits of being outside in the sun, particularly at this time when vitamin D is so important for your immune system and building that. I mean, we all know we get a lot less ill during the summer than the winter, and a lot of that is down to the fact that A, we're outside more, and B, we're getting more sunlight and more vitamin D. Really important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good advice from the government, and I think the longer this goes on, I've lost track of what week we're in even, but it is hard. We're busy trying to keep our businesses alive and thriving throughout this lockdown process, so that when we do come out the other side, we've still got our businesses intact. And that's why we set up IsoNation, to support other people in the same situation. But as time goes on, it is going to have an impact on people. It's going to have an impact on individuals' mental health, and just trying to stay sane and calm. I mean, we're lucky enough here to have set up our office, but outside of this calm room, there's kids running around, there's other issues going on, and I think the longer we are in these four walls, we're going to see potentially more issues arising if we don't look after ourselves. So that's why I'm really so pleased that the government are still urging people to do that exercise and to get outdoors. And for businesses like yourself, providing a service for their existing members and obviously new members as well, welcome to join. There is a lot of offerings for health and fitness, so it's being put up there as a key thing. And for those people that are lucky enough to maybe have a little bit more time on their hands at the moment, they are prioritizing their health and their fitness and their mental health. More people are taking time for themselves to perhaps to do some meditation, perhaps do some yoga, but just having that time. I know for myself, actually, I quite like to just lock myself in the bedroom once the kids are in bed, not speak to my husband for a little bit until I've had some me time, because all of these things are so crucial to individuals. And I think that if we can keep prioritizing them whilst we're in this lockdown scenario, hopefully those things will stay top priority once we're back. What do you think about that, Tom?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think it's quite hard to separate the physical health and the mental health. I mean, the benefits of exercise, like, we're designed, when we get stressed or anxious, we're designed to move, we're designed to run or fight, and the problem is that we may not see it like we would see a saber-toothed tiger, but if you're constantly being harassed by children or by emails or whatever, even if it's a minor harassment, you're getting a dose of adrenaline, you're getting a higher heart rate, your breathing shortening, and all these things would normally be cured by going for a walk or a run or doing some yoga or stretching, and these things affect the way we think, feel, and behave, and so we need to make sure that we are introducing those. I think one other thing I would add to what you just said is around having some structure. And so that was one of the keys when we set our thing up, was right, how can we, when we're thinking about helping people or helping members, what is the best thing we can do? And it all starts with a structure. So if you can give someone something to do early in the morning, so as they get up, they can do that, they can join in, that you get the community aspect as well through Zoom, then suddenly you're offering people a structure to a day. And you also mentioned around, I think that first week or the first 2 weeks once lockdown happened was terrifying, frankly. It was like, there was so much from teachers around what you need to teach your kids. There was so much around other parents and the pressure that we all felt around making sure that our kids were being, I mean, our kids are slightly different to your kids and older kids, but I think there's all of those things that are coming on that we've never had to deal with before. I'm hoping that, counter your suggestion that we could go mad in 6 months, I'm actually hoping that we might get better at this over 6 months, because we may realize that actually, if we do an hour or two of educational stuff a day, and then we can structure it differently, and maybe we forget about holidays and we just create, I don't know, I haven't spent enough time thinking about it, but I don't think we necessarily are going to fall into a cycle of worry. My concern might be a bit more for people who are on their own and don't have that social interaction. But then, I've spoken to a lot of people in that situation already, and they seem to be doing really well. I mean, I'm a lot better than I would have imagined. They're connecting a lot on Zoom. We all are. So I think there's some hope. I mean, there's nothing to talk about, is there? That's the other thing. I mean, we've all there's no sort of new news. It's all you don't really want to cover.
Not much sports, anyway.
Say again?
Not much sport to talk about.
No. Exactly.
This is quite interesting. Well, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there with the kind of panic and the overloading of information that we were sort of originally getting before people were sort of calming down and saying, right, we're going to be in this now, let's see what works for us, and different dynamics in different families, and like you say, for people on their own as well. But having the internet, oh my goodness, what would we do without the internet? I mean, that really is a humongous question that we can't answer here now, but thank God for the internet.
Absolutely, absolutely. The connections that we can get. I mean, we couldn't even consider running our business 10 years ago without all the stuff that's available now. And like the connections with people are so important at the moment. But I think, I think in many ways it must have been a little bit like this 100 years ago, where you lived in little communities of people, or 200 years ago, whatever it was, and so maybe it's not so unnatural, but it just feels unnatural because we've been living like this for so long.
Yeah. I think there's loads of positives that hopefully will come out of this scenario. A bit of a kind of back to basics, the time to reprioritize things, time to reset things. And I know that's a key word for you, reset, with one of your other programs as well. But taking that time for your mind and your body, as well as your family and everything else that's going on, I think is really important. And it has given us the opportunity. And I hope that when we are back to normal, if there is a normal, that these sort of good intentions and these good things that people have discovered don't just fall by the wayside and it's all kind of 100 billion miles an hour again.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested to know, on Zoom, how you're running your classes. So you said about it being such a community aspect, and we've seen some people are putting together pre-recorded videos for their members. Some people are doing live streams for their members. So there's a little bit of interaction. But as we mentioned at the start, one element is all about that social fitness as well. So do you have this kind of similar banter that you would get in a park on Zoom? Is this possible?
Yeah, no, we do. We get a really good community. So what I do is I started up 10 minutes beforehand, and then people join, and inevitably there's 3 or 4 that start 10 minutes before, and we chat for 10 minutes, and that's lovely to catch up with people. But I'm a bit naughty because when I'm taking the sessions, the group sessions, people do not stop talking. So I actually love Zoom because I can just hit mute and then I can run through the session and at quite a fast pace. We've adapted the sessions. We've tried to pull everything from our usual training. So the various different types of drills that we do, but obviously we can't because we're not in the parks. We haven't got the long distance running. So we're creating a few more boxing sessions, a few more short, sharp hit sessions. And then some of the hour-long sessions. And as you mentioned before, we're still doing the garden or park-based sessions where you can actually take us out to the park on your Zoom or download the video from earlier and train in the park. So it's for me, in many ways, it's proving really interesting. This is something I would never have done. The idea of even doing a conference call I would have turned away from 2 or 3. But now I'm absolutely loving it.
I think so. I think that you're a very personable guy, and I think you love that interaction with people. But it's surprising that you can get that through a computer screen.
You really can. You fully engage with the individuals. And 20 minutes ago, I finished the session, or 20 minutes before we started this call, I finished the session, and we had 48 people on that session, and
wow.
I would be running it, and then I'd break out occasionally, and I'd put it onto gallery view, and then I can see everyone who's in it, even if they haven't put their screen on, their video on. I can still call them out and tell them they're doing well.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. It means that they know that they're appreciated and they're in the group and so on. And then we record it on the cloud, and then we send it out to the main membership group at the end of the day, so they can all catch up on it. And we're getting sort of 150, 200 views of the video. So people are really engaging with it. Some great feedback.
Yeah. You're going to miss that mute button when you get back in the park then.
I'm going to miss the mute button. I'm going to have to try and work out how to mute. Mute all. Yeah.
I'm also lucky enough to be part of your WhatsApp groups with your members. So that's another area where a lot of the banter takes place, which isn't face to face in the parks, but happens, over a messenger service.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these things they create, like, they tie. I mean, we hardly ever use email. We do now, but before we hardly ever use it. All of our communications through WhatsApp, and just interpersonal stuff on the parks, and yet we sold a huge number of tickets to the One Element Festival last year, and we got 110 people to the Black Tie 2 or 3 weeks before COVID came over to the UK. So we managed to communicate and get people together without using conventional email, but through WhatsApp, and it's a much more relaxed way of doing things, isn't it? And so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned at the beginning, when you had the right, what do we do now moment, that your group of franchisees came together. So similarly, like when we spoke to Julie last week, you've got some good talent out there that are actually heading up One Element franchises of their own in different locations now. That's absolutely fantastic, that kind of collaboration and utilising people's skills. Do you think that when things change and when we're allowed to go back out and you can do your group exercising in the park again, that how will your sort of business model change in terms of your sort of franchise program? What can you see happening from this that you can take forward?
That is a very, very good question. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that our main business is going to change. We love being in the parks. That's what we do. My goal is to still create One Element internationally, well, nationally first and then internationally, and to be able to launch our training in parks across the country. I think there's a space for it. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to do that. I also fully appreciate there is a space for this. We've had, tens of ex-members come back on board, people who are based in Abu Dhabi, people who are based in all around the world, who have moved away from training in London and are now looking to carry on. So I think potentially there is a market for this. I think we need to explore it correctly. We've had really big interest from corporations. So we've sold 3 memberships to companies where it's a completely different model, isn't it? I mean, when before you're literally selling to people within a kilometre radius of your park. We're now selling to anyone, and we've got no limit on how many spaces we can have within reason on a session. So I think it's going to need some thought. I think we're going to probably have to talk to the franchisees and work out how the model works. But I'm not ruling anything out. I think it could be something that our members may well like to tack on to their membership as well. So we'll see how it works.
So are you literally living day by day in terms of the business at the moment? Are you thinking, right, we're not going to be out of this for a few months? Or are you thinking, well, let's wait until the next update, it might be another 3 weeks? Or what's in your head, because obviously I know you probably haven't planned it out, but what are you thinking is going to be the exit strategy? When do you see us getting back in the parks, and how do you see that affecting your business?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would be 2 or 3 weeks to start with, and now, if I'm absolutely honest, I've got no idea how long this is going to last for. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I think it would be nice if the government, even if it was a long-term thing, if they were to say, guys, it's going to be 6 weeks or it's going to be 2 months, then at least we can plan for it, both on an individual level and a company level. I think it's kind of unfair to keep saying it's going to be another week or 2 weeks. So that would be helpful. What was the other half of the question?
How do you see yourself then getting back into the parks, basically?
Yeah, so that's an interesting. I watched Julie's comments. I watched the interview you did with Busy Lizzie earlier in the week, and I think she was really kind of quite switched on at that point. She talked about there's going to be an opportunity for marketing that will come along, and it will be a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's once in a, like, it's never happened before. When, and particularly from our perspective as a group training, it's really outside and so on. We know we get a massive uptick in the spring anyway, but this is an opportunity where we're coming into after a terrible winter, and then potentially, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months of being locked down. People will be desperate to get outside, and provided the council allow us to take the train, I think that, as Julie was saying, 24 hours, 48 hours week of marketing will be absolutely key to growing the business at that point.
Are you at all sort of nervous about it happening again, being called, going out and then having to come back in? Are you, I mean, it just sort of seems a bit crazy. And I think Julie mentioned it, like, once we're told we can go back outside, everyone will want to go back outside. But is that going to be more harmful than good? Could a about arrive?
Yeah, I think the ideal thing is we try to get through this and then go outside and resume normality. But whether or not the science sits with that, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think many of the people in government seem to know the answer to that. So, I think ideally it would be great if they could say, look, we've got another 6 weeks and then we'll get outside, and then we can start planning for how we're going to grow the business at that point. But I'm actually not, I'm not scared by it. I'm not scared by it. I think in many ways, as I said at the very start, we've had a lot of things while we've been running this business that have given us frightened us in the past around the council, and be able to pull the rug out from under your feet, which you don't get in a gym. So with that, we managed to adapt and change, and we run hill running sessions and track sessions and so on. So actually, I in a funny kind of way, I quite enjoy, and it improves the business in many ways. We with the hill running sessions, it opens up a new chapter of what we can do. With the track sessions, with this, it's completely improved the business. It's not a bad thing in any respect. It's taught us completely new things. I've written 2 new sessions a week for the last 3 weeks, which I hadn't written many new sessions last year. So that's improving the product and so on. So I think whatever happens, hopefully there'll be some good stuff that can come out of it.
Yeah, it's that real adapting and overcoming mentality, isn't it, at the moment?
Otherwise, you just tick over doing the same thing without really creating anything new and exciting, which I think is helpful for a business.
Yeah. And what do you think for the health and fitness industry as a whole going forward? What do you think about gym life? Will people be desperate to get back to their gyms, or do you think they would have made adaptations at home with home exercise, or even in their garden exercising like you guys?
I mean, this is me conjecture, and it's not, I don't actually know the answer, but I get the gut feeling that people will, those who were based in social groups, so if it was a CrossFit gym or an F45, I don't actually know much about F45, but or something like us, then I've got a feeling we'll get a lot of our members will come back in. I think if you're a high value indoor gym without that community feel, where people turn up, stand on a treadmill, or go onto a bike, I think there may be a bit of fear around that. I may be wrong, but I also wonder whether, like, the costs associated with running Pure Gym, for example, that could be any of those gyms, but the rents associated with that, if they just have to pause their membership for 3 months, that's going to put a huge amount of costs onto them. And then if they can pick up that membership at the end, it's going to be interesting as well. I don't know the answer to it. I haven't put a great deal of thought into their position, I'm afraid. But so I'm hoping that those who are more smaller, community-based clubs, if you like, will probably come back together, just as everyone's can't wait to get back to their sports club or even the pub, I think.
Yeah, no, that's interesting as well about the people that are missing that social interaction, actually, the group mentality, they'll be probably desperate to get back into those groups. But maybe the Lone Ranger that just goes to the gym and goes on the treadmill may have found actually going outside for a run more beneficial for them, perhaps.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
In terms of your business head on, what has been the sort of the biggest impact of this coronavirus scenario for you, sort of personally managing your business? So forget about, you know, the members and instructors. What's been your fear, perhaps, because things have been so uncertain?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's still really dawning on me that we're going to have to probably do another 3 weeks of this at the minimum. So at the start, it was very short term. I think there's a huge anxiety when you've spent the best part of 15 years growing a business and it's membership based. And, you know, once you build a company that's people based, your motivation is around them. It's around making sure that you're doing, it's more than just financially building more sales each week. It's about, you're really invested in these individuals. So that for me was a moment that I felt really quite, or that any risk to them becomes an anxiety, if you like. I want to make sure that we can do as much as we can, but that didn't last too long. I think, as we said at the start, it was probably 24 hours, 48 hours of chewing over the ideas. And yeah, because Zoom's so easy to use, because the team up system that you actually introduced us to years ago integrates directly with them, and actually you'll be pleased to hear it marks people off as attended when they come into the session.
That's amazing.
So, isn't it? So actually we're getting some amazing data back and so on. And well, I mean, you know, on a personal level, now that we've got all these things in place, I'm feeling a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable about this scenario and where we are. And I feel like we can carry on for a few more weeks, a few more months if necessary. And in many ways, I'm enjoying it. And I think the members are enjoying the different types of training. I'm not pretending that they're enjoying being stuck at home all the time, but they're enjoying the training, I think.
So it could be that we see another side of One Element going forward. Once you're back outdoors, there may well also be a One Element online.
Yeah, don't rule it out. It would be great if we could carry on. Yeah, I think if we got 2 or 3 more companies involved, then we could probably cover the costs of running that. So that's one goal for the next few weeks, is just try and get a few businesses involved.
Yeah, so tell us more about that. So this is an idea for businesses, people that are working from home now, that you set up.
Yeah, so as soon as we launched it, one of the members came to us and said, I'm furloughing all of my staff. They're all going to be sitting at home. Can we do a deal where we can get my 25 members on board? So we said absolutely, and we came up with a figure that was very low for 25 people, given that actually not probably all 25 will use it. So it made sense from our perspective and their perspective. And then we had another member who came on and asked if her company could join. So, I mean, we're talking a few £100 for a whole business of 50 to 100 people. And so from their perspective, I think it shows a lot of value to them.
Yeah.
They've been giving their members, their employees who are working from home or furloughed, something for maybe £10 each, and they get something every day. They get 5 sessions a day and a video, and a way to give them something back, I suppose. So that's our goal.
I really like the sound of that from a kind of business culture point of view, that businesses could still really check in and look after their staff even while they're not physically together.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least they can give them a route to doing exercise and Pilates and mindfulness. And that's one of the reasons we brought in mindfulness, because the new companies were going to come on board. And the companies wanted their employees to have some mindfulness. So that was a suggestion from one of the members. So we introduced it, and we're getting good numbers along to the mindfulness sessions.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us about wonderment and how you've made some interesting and exciting, what should we say, additions to your offering. Have you got any sort of final top tips for anybody that's worried about their own business at this time?
I think it sounds so trite when I mean, I'm in a position where we haven't got huge overheads, but I think take every benefit that you can from the government. I think if you can see any route out of it through an online offering or an opportunity to change and adapt, I think huge opportunities out there. And a few people have said there's, in every scenario where there's hardship, there'll be winners as well. So there will be opportunities, I think, as we come through this and out of this. So there's going to be something. That is. I think it's a learning. If you can see it as a learning process, then you're probably in a good space. But I appreciate that's not what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do feel like it kind of hit us out of the blue, really, and nobody could have predicted this. And it's been a challenge for everybody in lots of ways. So it's great to be able to talk to you and to share your insights into your business with everybody else. And if anybody wants to get in touch with IsoNation or with Tom to talk about anything that we've discussed today, then please do and like and share this video so that we can get more contributors and more people involved in IsoNation as well. Thank you very much for your time, Tom, and we'll speak again.
Thank you very much. Lovely to chat to you, Rachel. See you soon.
Bye.